What's up? What's up? What's up? What is up? Paulie Bear, can you hear me? What's up, bro?
Yeah. Do you hear me good?
I hear you great. Guys, how are you? Welcome to the live stream. Guys, Paul and I are super stoked. Sometimes, I tell you what, guys, we've come a long way in this podcast. Many podcasts where no one ever watched, and very few viewers and subscribers, and they've been pouring in over the past couple months. Paul and I are stoked. Paul, you again, like our Tuesday live stream, you are totally flexing in your Mexico mansion. You got to pick up your computer and show the homies where you're at. So this is Santiago Bay in Manzanillo, Mexico. There's Trader Mo right behind him there. Yes, when we go on vacation, we do get to look at that bay, having breakfast every morning. Paul, how are you on vacation? The folks
I have had a lot of burritos. I've had a lot of burritos, and I have gained a few pounds, I'm sure, but it's all in the name of Mexico, so we're good.
Guys, again, we struggled a bit coming up with the topic because it seems like life kind of slowed down a bit. And so when life slows down with the stock market and maybe some great stories, I wanted to pull back. Again, this podcast came from strange beginnings. Not strange, just Paul has done a lot in this world, as have I. And he wanted to get an education. He's been teaching at his local high school. He loves the idea of helping people like myself. So I was this little weak birdie that Paul put me under his wing a few years ago. And since then, I've just developed this incredible understanding along with him and Trader Mo and everyone that works at the Crossroads group here in Akron, Ohio. I've just learned so much. And so we decided, God, why don't I act as the viewer, the dumb guy in the room, asking someone with, frankly, a lot of money, a lot of businesses, and a lot of success, how does it all work? And so this is sort of the premise of our show. I ask your questions, and you guys get inside access to someone that you probably haven't met, someone incredibly disciplined, someone almost too disciplined, right, Paul, in terms of investing, stock market, realty. It's quite incredible. So this guy's a marvel of mine. I'm happy to call him a dear friend.
Can I interrupt first?
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm very excited to show off my shorts today.
Oh, it is shorts time. Now you have big shorts fans out there, Paul. Okay, go ahead.
Guys, today the Masters is on, right? The Masters, the golf tournament that was delayed. I've met Paul in my dreams. Thank you, David. So I have these shorts today. They are Tiger Woods related.
Oh, look at this now.
So,
look at this.
This is Tiger's mugshot. This is Tiger's mugshot from when he was arrested for his, I think he was like inebriated. It wasn't alcohol. It was what's it called?
Wow, Paul.
It was sleeping pills, but those shorts are incredible, are they not? Please tell me they're not incredible.
So, guys, a lot of people are asking about the Patreon, and one of our tiers of the Patreon is Paul's Super Shorts tier, where he not only analyzes his puts, options, what he buys in the stock market, but also what he is shorting. And so the Patreon is coming along. I know a lot of you out there want some more exclusive access to Paul, as I always do. And so that is definitely coming. I know we've been prefacing it for a while. We're building and building and building. Paul, any updates on the app, the 8-pillar app?
It's still being worked on. Like I said, it's gonna be 9 to 12 months, but it's going great. And people are asking about Patreon. Seth and Don have been working on that. It'll be available this month, probably here in the next few days. Correct, guys?
Yep, we're working on it. Yep, for sure. This month, Paul, for sure. This month.
Okay, so the app is going to be great. The great news is for Patreon, whatever level you sign up for, you get a permanent. You never get this is your Patreon price for the app forever. We're only going to allow it for a select number of people. It's going great. Dima, our main developer, is working on it. I just saw him exchanging emails with our data feed today. But Mo and I keep talking about extra great things we can do on the app, and it's going to be awesome.
With Patreon, you guys, we're going to start the merch. I've been thinking of catchy slogans, T-shirts that have Paul's ugly mug on it. Beautiful mug, my part. A powerful beard shirt. I get my real estate advice from my Uncle Paul. Shirts, stickers, hats. We're going to do it all. We're very excited. In the meantime, Don did just say that Patreon's going live next week, so that's phenomenal. Guys, thank you so much for following and liking. Make sure you are smashing that like, and as always, subscribe. While we move forward, Paul, I have a series of questions. I think, again, we wanted to sort of slow down. A lot of people have already asked, what do we both do for a living? This is one of my first questions to you. And when I asked you, what do you do? So folks, Paul and I went to school together 20 years ago. We reconnected about 4 years ago at a Cleveland Cavaliers game. And I asked him, what do you do? And he gave me this sort of like, hey, and I was like, what the hell does that mean? So what I didn't know.
I think you even said those exact words. I think you even said like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah. What the hell does that mean? And so it's hard to answer because Paul, you've been part owner of over 20 companies the last decade. You basically used to be the CEO of your real estate group. Now your brother is. You've stepped back to focus more on this and more on
and not just the real estate group. The Crossroads Group is a holding company. It holds a bunch of real estate businesses. Everything Money's part of it. Dynasty owner, and my brother. I stepped down so that my brother could take over because I wanted to focus on teaching. And just to let you guys know, I just had an email exchange today with a local top 50 university in Ohio that is looking to bring me on, and I'm going to teach for free over there. That's how much I like teaching. Like, I'm literally going to teach for free an investing class at a major university. And so I just said to them, guys, I'm better at investing and teaching. Let me go handle that. Mikey, Andrew, Chris, you guys go run the other businesses, grow them, so I have more money to play with when I invest. So that's basically what I do for a living now. I'm in charge of allocating the capital that comes in.
And on my end, guys, after Paul and I went to high school, I played college football at a Division III. I then got a PhD in chemistry. I had a terrible chemistry job sitting in an office. It was awful. In the meantime, I was building sort of my secondary gig, which was photography. So I'm primarily a wedding photographer. My wife and I, our website is sethandbeth.com if you ever want to look at our work. But we have traveled the globe photographing weddings, and damn it, we're pretty darn good at it. So we make a great living at that, and it's given us the freedom to learn from Paul and start this show. So, Paul, I wanted to come with you with just a few general questions. So, folks, if you're out there, I see a lot of questions about, like, what do I do with my 401k? How do I start investing? Paul, I think you would agree what I've learned from you, if I'm saying it right, is we first have to develop, before we put any money anywhere, we really want to develop a mindset. So can you talk about, just in general, what someone who has multi-millions of dollars, what is your daily work ethic? I think people will be surprised because what I mean to say is, guys, you're probably not going to want to hear what Paul says, because when he tells me about my work ethic, my discipline, planning, and all this stuff, I want to be successful, but I don't want to hear it. So Paul, start with that. Like, what is your general day-to-day work ethic of someone who has done quite well in the world?
I'm a big believer in, if you want something, you go for it. You start. I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. If you're going to overthink it and you're going to start over worrying about what I have to do, what do I need to do next, just get started. That's it. That's all you have to start with. It starts as simple as putting money into a savings account at $200 a month and get started on your savings. I don't care how old you are, how young you are, just do it. Everybody can do that. And in general, whenever you want anything in life, it doesn't just happen out of thin air. You have to go out there and do something. I mean, look at this house in Mexico. I would have never thought when I was in high school with Seth that I would have two beautiful homes in Mexico that are basically a business that make us 15% returns a year. And we get to enjoy this all the time. Everything's about what you want to do. When I was 24 years old, I wanted to order a sports team. I had no idea how to do it. You know what I did? I went on Google and typed in, how do I buy a sports team? 4 years later, I had a deal to buy a significantly big enough piece of the Miami Heat that required NBA approval. Now, and I raised the money and everything. Now, we didn't end up closing the deal, but the money was raised, the deal was all set. The point is, I was 24 and I literally Googled, how do I buy a sports team? I found one guy who led me to another guy who led me to another guy. Before you know it, 4 years later, I had a deal with a guy named Scottie Pippen, not trying to name drop, but he and I were we're going to do a deal together at one point. Ronnie Cycli. So the whole point is, you never know. I was a small guy from Akron, Ohio. You'd think I had any clout anywhere, and I had some money, but I didn't have enough that it mattered where it made me that wealthy where I could go buy a big chunk. So everything starts just on initiating the snowball. The snowball will grow, but you have got to put the work in. And when I say work in, I'm not saying, I don't believe in grind 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. every night. I don't believe in that at all. I believe in get what you need done as fast as you can get it done. Give yourself time for breaks. Give yourself time for everything. Let the path open up as you do more, because that's exactly what's going to happen. I never thought 15 years ago I'd have at some point, we don't have 20 businesses, but the whole point is a lot of businesses. And even now we're trying to pare the businesses back to a focus of 6 or 7 that we can grow big time. But all the businesses we had started with 0 and they grew from there. So, mentality is everything. You have to believe it's possible that you can go do things. You don't worry about, we always this thing called B to Y. Everybody worries about A and Z. B to Y is the most important part. And the steps, the 26 letters of the alphabet, B to Y is the stuff. Actually, A is probably the most important, getting started. But then the next most important step, is the next one. Seth used to play football. What's the most important play in football, Seth?
Well, they call it the punt, but it's really the next one. The next play is the most important. So,
Exactly.
Paul, guys, coming from a viewer, I would say this is I turn to Paul for a lot of major decisions in my life. And sometimes I'm very flustered as, again, I don't have his discipline. I don't have his planning skills. I haven't developed the way to plan out my days and get stuff done. And he always says, like, just first of all, start and do. I know it sounds so simple. Have a list of things, do the first thing and get that done. I've been trying to instill this in my life. David Spicer saying this is not about money, this is about life. This absolutely is a life lesson I've learned from Paul about, Paul, you've talked about not only the B to Y of planning, which we'll get to. It's a huge motto of yours, but just in general, I found it fascinating that the 6 things a day really has changed my mind. Paul, elaborate on the 6 things.
So I learned this from Mary. Mary is our manager who runs our real estate, and her father used to tell their kids, Mary included, write down the 6 things you have to get done the next day. The night before, write down 6 things you need to get done. Get them done. If you do 6 things a day, you're going to get over 2,000 things done a year. You'd be surprised how little you get done when you start doing 6 important things a day. And guys, I don't care how small they are. They can be as simple as open a brokerage account. Great. Fine. Save $20 today. Great. Fine. Whatever it is, you need to do 6 things per day that you get done, and your life will be so much better at the end of the year. You will see progress amazing because everything in life is done in small steps. That's it.
Guys, my goal for you literally in my life, again, Paul is in my life every single day. We talk, we go on vacation, we have dinners, but I say this all the time. I just hear this little angel or devil on my shoulder sort of telling me, like, when I make decisions, I sort of think, what would Uncle Paul do? And it comes down to money. It comes down to savings. I think, Paul, I think a lot of people are overwhelmed in general with retirement savings, investing, which is why we created this channel. And so if you could simplify it down, I know you started the idea of just saving some money. I think that's just like the general term with all of this, right? Is we want to save for a brighter future. What you've informed me and taught me is it can seem massively overwhelming to save for a whole lifetime. But if you break it down, talk about the B to Y steps to saving. And as simple as getting on your phone and going on Fidelity literally after this podcast ends. Talk about that, Paul. The B to Y of just starting to save, because there's a lot of people in this country, millennials included, that don't even have a cent saved. And so talk about that, Paul.
So guys, saving is about compound interest. And Albert Einstein, and I think it was Albert Einstein, you said that the other day, Mo, he said that compound interest is the most amazing thing in the universe. And it really is true. Your job is to put a little bit away every single month and not worry about it until you're 65. And people don't realize how little that is. Whenever I teach at the high school, and whenever I talk to adults about this, their comment is, I wish I'd learned this in high school. if you save as little as $500 a month starting at the age of 22 in 43 years and assuming 10% per year, let's see what that would be. So I have the trusty calculator, 1.008333 to the, 43 times 12 minus 1 divided by 0.008333 times, how much did I say, $200 a month?
Yeah.
200. That alone is $1.7 million in retirement.
Say that again, Paul. Say that all again real quick.
$200 per month for 40 from the age of 22 to the age of 65. That's it. Will lead you to $1.7 million in retirement. Now, guys, that's $200 per month. You're telling me you're not going to be able to, when you're 22 and making 50,000 or whatever the number you're making, you'll be able to save way more than $200 a month, and you can save it pre-tax. So you'll be able to save a ton of money. And if you able to save $500 a month, you'll never increase it. You're going to have $4 million at retirement just from doing that. Everybody can do that if you make $40,000 or more per year. You can still figure out a way to do it. Trust me. You know, there are people in this chat, Vinny and Matt Jensen, who save 60% of their income. Everybody can do it. That's an incredible amount of money on such a little amount of money. And the sad part is, I don't want to make people upset who are later in life. If you wait 10 years, that 1.7 million drops to like 500,000. So the most important thing is starting as early as possible, as soon as possible. And if you have to increase and as you make more and more money, increase that more and more. Pay yourself first. That's what that involves. By the way, the question of where does 10% come from? The historical S&P 500 return is 9.9% per year. So if you buy an ETF or an index fund, low cost index fund, you'll get around 10% per year.
Yeah, guys. So I had, again, speaking on behalf of our viewers, you know, for the past decade, even longer, I had this crushing feel that I would never have enough to retirement. That's all the news talks about, is how, number one, no one's saving. More than half the people who die in this world have less than 10 grand to their name, and it's a rough go. I had the unique opportunity to start working with some people who were almost twice my age. So I got some initial tutelage about how to save and invest for retirement. Now, their stock tips, Paul, as you recall, weren't that very good. Their stock tips were just invest in companies you really love, which got me into Amazon, Tesla, and Netflix, which I made a slaying with. I don't own any of those as of right now. But the point is, guys, Paul has informed me, like, if we just do this simple B to Y, and the B to Y means I have an A, I want to start. The Z is I want to retire with a lot of money. So Paul sort of helps me work on those individual steps on a month-to-month basis to get a savings. So in general, guys, if you're wondering, my portfolio is nothing special. Paul, I think we got over $300,000, Beth and I combined in all of our long-term retirement savings, which at 10% a year till I'm 65, which is 25 years, Paul, that's $3.8 million, somewhere in that range. So that's a great start. And that's if I add nothing. And you've told me, yep. So talk about that, Paul. Like, it doesn't take a lot. I'm already almost 40 in February, and I have a really great start, Paul. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. And, you know, we sat there and talked about you adding $11,000, $12,000 a year would get you to pretty much 8 figures, $10 million in retirement over the next 25 or 30 years. I mean, Seth, that's an incredible amount of money. You'll never have to worry about money. And the best part is, once you have that money locked away, just live off your other money. I'm not saying spend every dollar of it, but save up for that stuff. Do your fun things, your trips to Mexico, your trips to, you're buying a nice car that you want, but you have to pay yourself first. And that starts with the process of saving every single month.
So in general, folks, as a normal person, again, I just keep saying, at the beginning of the year, I send off the $12,000 from our Roth IRA for my wife and myself, which is $6,000 per person. I put it right into my Fidelity app. I cut them a check. And then throughout the year, I buy individual companies as well as ETFs, which, Paul, is your number one go-to for normal people. Elaborate on ETFs and why they're great for normal people.
Any ETF or low-cost fund, they're going to basically try to match an index with very little fees. You guys would be surprised how bad mutual funds do with active management. They tend to not beat the market over long periods of time. Don't even think about them. Why even waste your time? Just match the market. If you just match the market, you're going to do a great job. So just do it.
Yeah, I think you've sort of, Paul, it's funny is we sometimes have some clickbaity titles about intriguing stocks that we're going after or that were on our watch list. And talk about the mentality of, say someone has, besides ETFs, we talk about a little bit of fun money to maybe get into some of these stocks that you and I like. You know, we had a conversation about Cisco and Intel on a live stream 2 weeks ago. My son and I bought some Cisco and Intel. Not so much if Uncle Paul tells me to, I do it, but I do like your 8 pillars. I like looking at companies and stocks through your eyes. But talk about the ETF versus stock mentality that people might want to know.
Let me just answer really quick. One person, Michael Mathern asked a really interesting question.
Which one is it, Paul? Oh, I see it right here. This one.
Yep.
What do you think?
He was asking if I save $9,600 a year for 5 or 10 years, what will I have after that? I said, if at 10% per year, you'll have $153,000 in your account. After 30 years, though, it'll be a huge number. So, anyways, for the fun money, I always say make sure you invest your majority. When you pick an amount of money to save every month, put it in your low-cost ETFs to match the market. If from there you want to do more side investing, save a little bit extra. Just put some money, and that way you can play with and see how it goes. I'm not saying you'll do worse or better, but just give it a shot, see how it goes, and save that extra money on the side. But don't ever take away from your retirement in order to test things out. Now, if all of a sudden you become an amazing investor and you want to start investing your retirement money, more power to you. But you need years and years of track record, because anybody can look like a genius in a good market, and everybody can feel stupid in a bad market. But it doesn't necessarily make it correct that just because stocks went up and you went up with it, that you're a good stock picker. So just remember that.
Daniel, I believe you're correct. So the $6,000 per year per person, which is untaxed and never will be taxed, it's pre-tax. You've already paid the taxes on it, so it's basically money out of your pocket.
No. Time out. It's not. If it's pre-tax, you have not paid the tax on it. When you take the money out in the future for retirement, you'll be taxed at ordinary income levels.
But a Roth IRA, Paul, is pre-tax. I'm sorry, it's not. It's already taxed, not pre-tax. It's already been taxed, right? I'm sending them my money.
But you can deduct that from your income.
Oh, okay. I get it. Yeah. But you are right. You do have time the following year to put it back in the previous year. And then Carpe Diem, our gal from Hawaii, asked, so are my Roth savings invest in ETF? So again, Paul, you're a little more diversified. I have half of my long-term savings. I follow the book by Joel Greenblatt, the little book that beat the market. And Paul, maybe elaborate on why you guided me toward that investment style. Go ahead.
Well, he wrote this book about beating the market. I'm a big believer. Trader Mo and I still believe in this, about picking certain attributes that make companies good and following that through thick and thin. This book said it. This book showed it. The hard part is you could be wrong. You could lose the market for 4 or 5 years. And usually when that happens, people bail on the strategy. Like recently, it hasn't done very well. Why? Because all these high-flying stocks have killed the market, and they're not the ones that would qualify for this fund. So you got to be patient, but over long periods of time, it shows that it works.
Dave says, he doesn't have any ETFs, Paul. He's got $30K in just stocks. Why are ETFs? Why did I say ETAs? My gosh. Why are ETFs a safer route for normal investors than a particular company? That's an obvious question, Paul, but just answer it.
Well, it's not necessarily safer. If you're going to do thorough investigation analysis into 30 stocks and own them, or 10, 20 stocks and own them, you can get rid of a lot of market risk by owning 20 or 25 stocks. I don't know what stocks you have, but it could be more risky than the market. It's just from a long-term perspective, why even if you follow an ETF that's like SPY that follows the S&P, you never have to look at your account. You just always look at the S&P and you know where you're going. If it's up 10%, you're up 9.9%. If it's up 20%, you're up 19.9%. I mean, it's just an easy way to follow the market and not have to think very hard.
Make sure you guys are always smashing the like button. Of course, we appreciate the help. Again, you guys don't ever have to give us a dime. Make YouTube do it. It's super simple. Yeah, Paul. So I invest in the companies that I invest in. Paul, what are the two forms of Joel Greenblatt? He finds companies that are obviously low in comparison to their price. And what am I missing? What are the two stats that he loves to say?
Return on assets, a low PE, and a high return on assets.
That's it. And so, guys, listen, if it sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't. That's why I come to Uncle Paul and ask all these questions. So, I'm sort of representing you. But I think the key, Paul, is it's okay if you don't know what you're doing. Your advice is to just put your money in there and know that 30 years from now, it's going to be higher than what you have. Take advantage of the compounding interest and do it early, wouldn't you say?
Yes, of course. Always do that. Always focus on it. and you'll never ever go wrong from a long-term perspective. And then come to us, learn about buying individual stocks, and dabble. It's fun.
Paul, talk about, I'm sure people have asked, you are not hesitant to describe that you definitely came from some money.
Yeah, absolutely.
The two worlds of maybe someone like myself, where my folks maybe combined made 60 or 70 through the 90s, versus someone like your family, which started in a very humble beginning as Iraqi immigrants and has grown to something quite marvelous. I was speaking with someone at your father's cancer hospital in Canton yesterday. So talk about the idea of I don't start with money, or I do. How was it played into your into your mindset of investing?
So for me, I think that's what made me so conservative. I liked the lifestyle I lived as a kid, and I never wanted to lose that. So to me, it was a conservatism in me to sit there and say, okay, I want to invest in a way that makes it that I never have to sacrifice this way of life. And that was a big thing for me. But the funny thing is, I see so many people start with money and they just spend, 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 and that's all how their parents raised them. Starting with money is beneficial. It can also be a big detriment. It was very beneficial for me because I took advantage of what I had and said, let me go grow it and let me go learn from it. Let me go do the things that I enjoy doing that I can learn from to grow the money. Like my father, when I bought these houses in Mexico, he was against it. But I was sophisticated enough to say, Dad, this is a good investment. We're going to be able to make good money. And now we have 2 paid off homes in Mexico that make 15% a year. I mean, this year's been bad and we're up 7.5%. And this year has been a bad year because of COVID. We've had like no revenue for 4 or 5 months. So these are things that I have done that I want to instill on my nieces as they grow is, listen, you're going to have money. It's how you act with that money. And if you don't have money, fine, just go out. It doesn't matter whether you have money or not. It shouldn't even enter what matters is your situation and how do you make the best of your situation. That's it. And I made the best of mine, and hopefully you make the best of yours.
Paul, my son Gio is on, and my brother-in-law Braden is on. My son changed his Gmail icon to your face, Paul. I think you're his hero, but he has been on our show before, and he definitely has about $2,200 of his own money, Paul, invested. I never thought that I would have a kid. He's in there. He's in the other room watching. Paul, he raided the piggy bank again, and he put $100 in an envelope and handed it to me so I could get money into his investment account because he's interested in buying some things last week when they were down. So he's committed. So I guess, folks, the idea is if a 10-year-old can do this, really anybody can. And so, Paul, we have.
Gio's going to be. Go ahead.
Yeah, Gio's going to be set, right? I mean, just kind of learning early and getting it done early. It's really amazing. So
let's put it this way: Gio has $2,200 saved up. If he makes 10% a year, when he's 65, it'll be $500,000.
Already, that's amazing. Gio, did you hear that? He's watching. Paul, how about this question? This is pretty interesting. My question is pretty much: do I invest 50K in what is VYM, Paul?
Oh, I think it's an ETF. I think.
Okay, take a look.
Let's look it up. VYM.
Oh, and he's got 30 years, so he's got a long time. This is great.
VIM is a Vanguard High Dividend ETF. So their goal is to. You want to share my? Oh, let me share my screen real quick with you.
Go ahead, Paul.
Application window. Share. Do you see my screen now, Seth?
Let's see. Let's try and do this, Paul, and then let me put you in a picture-to-picture. I think. Here you go. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, so no, we're fine.
Okay.
So if you look at this is an ETF. Look at this expense ratio. This is nothing, guys. It means for every $10,000 you give them, they're charging you $6. Is that the right number? $6 every year. This is nothing. An average mutual fund, for every $10,000 you give them, they're going to charge you $100 to $150 a year in fees. The dividend yield is 3.35%. Let's see here. Let's see what the return is. The return is okay. Actually, it's pretty good. It's about 4 times higher than it was in the bottom. It's not as high as the stock market, but with dividends, it's probably done pretty well. Let's look at their holdings. So their biggest holdings are right here. These are very broad-based companies. They don't look like massively overpriced ones. They're looking for high dividend yield. I mean, this isn't bad. I think this is let's see performance here compared to the S&P. Let's go 10 years. So 10 years, the S&P has done, oh, that's not good. 96%. This one's done 53%. I will say though, guys, this is probably not invested in sexy companies. A big chunk of the S&P 500 total return has come from high-flying, non-dividend paying companies. But I will give you a little tidbit. I heard this once from somebody where if you only bought companies that paid dividends from 1928 until now, you'd have beaten the market by 2.5% per year. That's a pretty incredible feat. So I think the last 10 years have probably been misleading on this one. But if you're looking for those who looked at very stable companies, they're not sexy, they're not Amazon, they're not Tesla, they're not Netflix. But that's I saw that on the sheet. So they're not sexy companies. That's the only problem.
Guys, I would say I see all the comments coming in. I'm trying to carefully select the right ones to bring to Paul. We certainly appreciate it. I would say as we move forward with Patreon, we are going to have more exclusive, private, uncensored YouTube gatherings where we'll go live and specifically take your exact questions for Paul. So that's certainly going to be happening. And Don said Patreon is going live next week, Paul. This is exciting. So
very exciting.
My brother-in-law asked this question, Paul. Why do you like companies with dividends, VNY, over VTSAX, or don't you? Do you know what he's talking about? I do not.
No, I don't know what he's talking about. I saw that there. I'm not saying I like companies with dividends over other things. That's not exactly my point. Remember when a company pays a dividend, what they're trying to do is they're trying to take their excess cash and give it back to investors. But if they can reinvest the capital at a much higher rate of return, I want them doing that. The dividend should only be paid out if they have no other way of reinvesting the capital at higher rates of return. That's the bottom line. But as investors, dividends are actually a very tax inefficient way of getting paid. Because if you think about it, the company already gets taxed on the corporate level. And then a bunch of liberals go out there and say, hey, you know what? Let's tax them even more. So they come in there and they tax you again at 30% level for your dividend income. That's fine. That's fine. But it's a very, so you basically already had, when you get $1 in dividends, you end up with 70 cents. But it took like $1.50 to get that 70 cents. So you'd rather find the company that's going to be able to reinvest their capital at better rates of return. Now that's the hard part though, is finding companies that can reinvest their capital at good rates of return. So I like dividends, and a lot of retirees like dividends because it gives them some income to live off of instead of touching their portfolio, which I agree with. So it's just a matter of what you want to do and how you want to handle that.
What are some other ETF funds you really like? Is it just generally SPY?
Look at anything Vanguard. They're very well known for low cost, matching the market. I'm a big believer in Vanguard, and our good friend Matt, who's a boglehead, I would agree with that. Is Matt still on?
I don't see him. Paul, I would say that I know folks, we try not to get into politics. I would say that Paul and I definitely come from two different histories of the two sides that are out there. And we try as much as we can not talk about the politics, but obviously talk about how the politics implement our money moving forward, because we all want to make a bunch of it. So yeah, that's great to see. Okay, Paul, I'm trying to think what else. Talk about what are not investments in your mind.
So in my mind, anything that's not an investment, something where you're solely relying on the growth of the asset price to give you a return. Where, so as an example, Magic the Gathering cards, that's a speculative play. You're speculating on the value of the card. If it goes nowhere or goes down, you can't make other income from it. Now, can an asset that generates you income also be a speculation? Absolutely. It just all depends on a number of factors. I'm not trying to sound vague, but investment is about understanding what you're buying, how you're buying it, and analyzing, can I still make a return on this even if the asset price doesn't go up? And that's kind of a generic way of looking at it. And are you going to have a proper security on your asset price and your capital that you invested? So that's a very generic way of saying it.
Paul, what are some trends that you see people saying in terms of investing? You tend to do the opposite on a lot of things. So talk about some of our competitors just go over and over and telling their viewers to just continue to pump money into Tesla and NIO. And it sounds exciting, and they get a lot more views and subscriptions than we do, Paul. You and I are on this slower, disciplined track, which is basically the way you live life. So talk about that sort of disciplined brainwashing to stay away from basically what everyone else is doing.
For every Tesla and Nikola and Netflix, there were 100 that went to zero. If you want to go big, guess on those ones and see what they're exciting, guys. Don't get me wrong, but I like to invest in a company where I sit there and look at Love, look at Intel, look at Cisco, look at um, CCL, all these companies. You see me getting upset when the stock price goes higher. That took a lot of brainwashing myself to realize that I don't want the stock to go higher. I want it to go lower because if I believe the company, and I believe my analysis, and I believe the company will keep generating money and they'll stay around, I want to buy more shares at less cost. Why would I not want to? And that's my mentality. It sounds counterintuitive. It's the only thing in the world that we love paying more for, and that's investments for some reason. It makes us feel warm and fuzzy inside. But I want to buy more and more cash flow for less and less money. So if a company's going to generate $1 million in cash flow a year, I want to pay as little as possible for that cash flow. If they're going to generate 10 million in revenue, I want to pay as little as possible for that 10 million in revenue. That's my mentality. That's how I think about things. So it takes the brainwashing, but that's what we're here for. We want you guys to keep learning that from us. And eventually, hopefully, a few of you guys will adhere to that.
Vinny, my watch is nothing special. It's a company called Civet. Now, Paul has a whole closet full of watches that we'll do one day, Paul. We'll talk about all those watches one day.
You know, Paul, Vinny, I'm very impressed. Vinny noticed my my watch right here. He said, "Is that a root beer?" And that's very impressive. I was like, I looked at Mo. I said, "Mo," I pointed at him. He goes, "I saw that."
Paul,
that was very impressive.
I really I see all of my friends doing exactly what you preach. Is that why do people love buying things when they're expensive? And it's just, I do it too, whether it's with, so talk about like, why is that? And how do you talk people off of that ledge? Because I think, Paul, before you say it, I know we all know the phrase sell high and buy low, but people just start buying high, whether it's houses. Look at the damn housing market. It's completely absurd. No one has money this year. And we've learned, we had Jameson on last week. Just yesterday, we had Jameson on talking about Pokemon cards and how they're skyrocketing. So people are taking the money they're getting from the government and blowing it on Magic cards and Pokemon cards and houses. So how do you get out of that mindset, Paul? I just, you see it, and I sort of cringe knowing what I've learned from you.
It took me years, guys. It took me years. It's just a matter of reading, and Warren Buffett always says, I will tell you how someone turns out when you show me the 10 people they hang out with the most. So the more and more you hang out with us, the more and more you hear this, the more and more you read the things that we talk about. And I only want you to do that if it makes sense to you. You might sit there and say, man, it makes sense to buy stocks at lower prices, but I can't get myself to do it. At least if it makes sense to you, that's a great start. Because it made sense to me, but it was hard for me to do it 15, 20 years ago. Now it's really easy for me to do. But even now, I have a hard time sometimes when I see a stock going lower. We made a bet on Nordstrom, and it keeps going down, right, Mo? And we keep looking at each other going, well, are we wrong on this one? And I go back to numbers. I'm like, I don't think I'm wrong. If I think Nordstrom's going to be around and I think they can weather the storm, I think I'll be right. But I could still be wrong. The question is, it's about that mentality of saying, can I stick to my guns and keep doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it?
Speaking about your guns, Paul, can you give us another shot of those shorts? People are dying for the shorts again. They're coming in late, and we just need to see the shorts. Look at those things.
Tiger Woods, y'all.
And show us the voluptuous butt cheeks that you are sporting in those Tiger Woods shorts. People want to see this. Look at that ass, folks. Look at that thing. It's incredible. If you just jumped on, you might be wondering what the hell we're talking about. Yes, this is an investment.
I don't think I've been doing that.
Yeah, this is an investment channel. We're not just focused on stock. Shorts. What am I talking about?
Here's the thing, though. Money is fun. Investing is fun. All these boring stiffs who talk about it, get out of my face. Like, I don't want to hear about it. We can have fun and do all this stuff. I will never, ever, ever take this too seriously. I want the process to be serious and have fun doing it. That's it. It's just, today's the Masters. It started today. So that's why I wore the Tiger Woods shorts. I was excited to do that. I think actually Mo said it. He's like, yeah, you got to wear the Tiger Woods shorts. And he didn't realize it was Masters Day. And I was like, good call, Mo.
Paul, there was a question about Robinhood. Then we got the short shorts, and I might have missed it. But like, what about? Here we go. Thoughts on brokerages like Robinhood, Paul. What do you think about this?
Listen, everything is bad if you use it the wrong way. Am I against Robinhood? I don't know enough to say I am against it. I have no problem with what I've heard so far. It's just, listen, it's a tool to be used to invest money. Now, do I see how it's leading to massive overpricing in stocks? Absolutely. But I don't think Robinhood's a bad thing. That's just like saying money's bad. Money's not bad. if you abuse money and abuse what it can let you do, that is an awful thing. But money in itself is not bad. That's like, I don't want to get too political, but we're sitting there talking about anything in this world that we say is bad. It's not bad if you use it in a proper way and you're responsible about it. Alcohol isn't bad. If all of a sudden you abuse it, it's bad. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. I don't like the fact that we sit there and say Robin Hood's the reason why people are. No, it's not Robin Hood. It's people.
Yeah, Paul, you've really taught me this. You know, you and I have had these conversations on the show before, and Paul, I keep seeing comments on our first video. I know we kind of get. I know that we have some fans when people go back and watch our first sit down, but the idea that money is bad. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, the rich people are bad because they take everyone's money, and yet we all want to be. We would trade for that position in a heartbeat. So it's like I still get in this mindset.
Well, by the way, maybe we wouldn't trade because I don't think I'd want to be in Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk's position.
I mean, we would trade. I mean, we would trade our bank accounts. I guess the point is.
Oh, tracked. Yeah.
I do photography mentoring, and photographers are one of the worst at just respecting themselves to charge money for their craft. They think money is bad, asking money for bad, sales is bad, yet they all want the money. So, what is your mindset about that? I mean, you've tried to, I guess that's just it. It's like money isn't bad. It just can bring out bad things and good things in people if you have a lot of money. Talk about that, Paul.
My ex-girlfriend was the first one to ever say this to me. She said, money magnifies, and she's 100% right. If you're a good person, you're a better person with money. If you're a bad person, you're a worse person with money. It allows you the freedom to do whatever you want. So if you're a bad person, you're going to do bad things. That's it. And the other thing is, guys, if Jeff Bezos has $1 trillion or $100 billion or $100, that will never affect your life. So if you think that's the reason why your life is bad, then you just don't understand life and society. I have a hard time believing that anyone here has that, because if you have that mentality, you're not open to thinking and learning for yourself. Just your job is to make your life as good as possible. And it doesn't necessarily mean more money. It just means being able to have enough where you can do whatever you want. And when I say whatever you want, that doesn't mean literally do everything in the world. It means, what do you want to do? Like Mo and I always talk about how we have the money to do whatever we want, but yet we don't do everything. Like we have enough money to lease a private jet and fly everywhere in the world private. We don't do that because to us, we'd rather be more responsible about that and not spend that money doing that as of right now. So it's just about making decisions that way.
Paul, we got to
talk about options today.
Yeah, now we were going to go from very, very simplistic to very, very difficult, Paul, with the options if you want to.
Well, a lot of people have asked me about options. I mean, I don't know if we want to ask people in the chat what they want to talk about, but the reason I brought up options is it's a very common question I get on our comments for our YouTube videos. You know what I mean? I mean, wouldn't you say that, Seth? We get a lot of questions about the options.
Yeah. So I would say, folks, Paul, let's start very, very 500-foot view. Who is this conversation tailored for?
Guys, this is the problem with options. This is why I'm apprehensive to talk about it. In order to do one contract on an option, you have to basically have 100 shares worth of money sitting around. So it all depends on the company's price. If you're looking at Amazon, one contract of Amazon is 100 shares of Amazon. A share of Amazon is $3,100. That's $310,000 you have to have available to buy one contract, to sell one contract of options on Amazon. That's a lot of money. You can buy options without having that money, but the way I use options as part of my value investing is selling options. So I can do it because of my amount of money that I have available, that I can go out there and sell a bunch of options and have multiple seven figures out there waiting for stocks to fall. You can't necessarily do that. But I want to show this as a way of showing you guys, this is how I make an extra 2 to 4% return per year on my money. That's a lot of money. We just saw right now how much, even if I just match the market and I do options and add 2 to 4% of what's called alpha to our portfolio, that could mean the difference between tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars in my personal account in 30, 40 years. So that's the hard part about it. I want to teach it, but at the same point, I want to make sure you guys don't sit there and go, damn, I can't do this. This is only reserved for rich people. To answer John Thiesing's question, do you sell puts or calls more often? I sell puts mostly. Now, that's because I don't have a lot of stock. Once I have a lot of stocks, I will sell calls on those stocks at higher prices. So it's a very good question, John. But right now I'm selling puts at lower prices.
Will, do you want to get into this? I have no idea what these are. Options, puts.
Let's get into this. Oh, let me pull up my, I'm going to share my screen here soon once I log in, Seth. So guys, you guys know I'm a value investor, which means I want to buy stocks as they go down in price, right? That is a main focus. So let's say we're going to use Intel as our example, because Intel is very easy. It's a wonderful company. I think it's worth every bit of $70 a share at the end of the day. But right now it's selling for, what is it, $46? Is that what it is, Seth?
Oh, Intel. Sorry, I haven't checked lately. My apologies. I was trying to get your picture.
Let me share my screen.
Yep, there you go. That's what I was trying to get that set up for you.
Okay, share my screen. All right, you guys see this?
Yep. Give me a second. There you go, Paul.
No problem. You know.
Can you make it? Can you make it a little bigger? There you go.
How do I make this bigger?
Drag the screen bigger on your desktop.
Well, this is as big as it gets.
There you go.
How do I magnify it? Oh, right here. Hang on a second.
Yeah, keep going there. Great, Paul. All right, Paul, go at it. Okay. Get after it. Go ahead.
Okay. So guys, Intel's at 44.83. Okay. Now let's say I want to buy Intel when it hits 40. I would pick a date in the future. Let's say 16 days from now, November 27th. I would go to my $40 price, and it says right here, I can sell options at $40 and get about 7 cents per share. So what that means is, let's say I wanted to sell 10,000 shares worth. Somebody would pay me 7 cents per share. So on 10,000 shares, that's $700. If the price of Intel falls to $40 or less, I would be forced to buy Intel at $40. If it stays up, and I'd keep my $700. The $700 is mine. If it stays above 40, I keep the 700. The option expires. So what's being basically happening here is I'm being paid money to wait for Intel to fall in price. That's the very simple, simplistic way of doing it. I'm being paid to wait. Now, what's the risk here? The risk is Intel goes to $35 in that time period. I'm still forced to buy it at $40. But in my head, I was already going to buy it at $40. I was already buying it here anyhow. So if it goes to 35, I would have lost money anyhow. So in my head, I got paid $700 just to sit there and wait. That is it. And this is how I use options to make money. I just sell prices of stocks I want at prices I want and get paid to wait for it. Let's say I want to do $42. I would get 20 cents per share. So if I wanted 10,000 shares, I would get $2,000 to sit there and wait.
What brokerage is this, Paul?
This is Charles Schwab.
Okay, keep going.
So this is what I do. And this is what I do for all my stocks. I have so many puts right now in so many different stocks. CCL, Intel, Haynes, Walgreens. I mean, how many do we have, Mo? Yeah, I mean, we have hundreds of thousands of puts available. We have hundreds of thousands of shares outstanding. How many of them get placed? Well, when the market goes up, very few get placed to me. So it's been very, very lucrative for me over the last few months because the market's been going up and up and up. As the market goes down, I'll get placed a lot of shares. I'll still make the money, but I'll also be buying the shares. But again, that's okay for me because I think Intel is worth $60. I'm willing to buy it at this price anyhow. So I'm just going to pick prices along the way just to wait. I can pick other dates in the future. I can pick 2 days from now. Now, 2 days from now, I'm not going to get paid a lot of money to $40 because what's the chance of it going from 44 to 40 in the next 2 days? Probably very little. But as I get closer to our quote unquote strike price, our current price, I'll get paid much higher amounts of money. Does that make sense to everybody?
Paul, do you think you'll teach me how to do this sometime soon?
If you would like. I don't know if you have the money to do that yet, though.
I hear you. Paul, someone asked real quick, social dancers, this is our gal. Is this Anne from Canada? Anne, I called you. Check your voicemail. I gave you a call about anyway, I think so. Anyway, Paul, if you're forced to buy Intel at that price, why is it called selling puts? It's kind of funny.
Great question. No, it's a good question. I'm selling a put is an option for somebody to put the shares into my hands. So I'm selling somebody else the option. Let's say I'm telling somebody, hey, listen, you pay me 7 cents. And if it goes below 40, you can put the shares in my hands at $40. If it goes to 35, they just made $5 per share. That is exactly what they're doing. So
What
they're
about
buying the right to force me to buy the shares. People would do this if they think the shares are going to go below 40, or they're trying to protect themselves against the shares going below 40.
what about registered account, non-registered account? What's this mean, Paul?
I don't know what that even means. What does that mean, registered versus non-registered account?
Dave, let us know. Rest in peace. This is funny. Yeah. Oh, Ann. Yeah, it is Ann. Okay, great. Okay. Is it? This is fun. Llewellyn is from Europe. Llewellyn. Oh, wait, I'm saying it wrong. How do you say that name? Paul, you know how to say this name well.
I do not. Llewellyn?
Yeah, Llewellyn. Yeah. Read this. Is he joking or what is he saying here?
No, I don't think that's the right reason, Llewellyn, man. It's puts and calls. I'm calling the stock away. I'm putting the stock in your hand. That's the reason why it's called puts and calls.
Can you show us another example, Paul, and maybe talk about the numbers again?
Yeah.
While Paul's pulling that up, guys, make sure we're smashing that like. You guys are doing great. And I see some of the more basic questions. We can get to them, Paul. But keep going.
So one of the other questions was, tell us the Greeks. So the Greeks are the Greek letters. The only one I focus on really is delta. The delta is basically the chance that they're saying that the chance of this occurring. So right here, they're saying it's about a 0.7% chance of this occurring. That in 2 days, the stock goes to $40. As you go out further, the chance is going to increase to $40. Like, look, here on December 24th, 2020, the chance of it hitting 40 is 14.5%. So the more time you give it, the more likely it is to hit a lower price. And the more likely it is to hit, the more money it costs you. You see why before for $40, it was 2 pennies. Now it's 38 cents. The more likely it is to happen, the more you're going to get paid for it. And the closer you get to the strike price, the more you can get paid. It's more likely to happen. But remember, I'm looking at this saying, oh, what do I care? I'm just going to sit here and get paid. Let's say I wanted to buy Intel at $43. I would just collect this fee right here, $1.15. I'm 37% likely to be forced to buy the stock, but I don't care. If I'm trying to build a position, might as well get paid a lot of money to build that position. That's my goal. I'm going to get paid to build that position. Worst case, I make a good amount. Now, here's the interesting part, and here's what I'm going to talk about. There's a really good return on investment here. So let's go here. Let's go to a closer date. And I'll show you guys the return on investment. Let's go 23 days out, December 4th. And let's say I'm going to do the $40 strike price. I'm going to get paid 15 cents. Now, the bank is going to make me have, since it's a put, the bank's going to sit there and say, you have to have enough money to cover this if it happens. So let's say I want to sell 10,000 shares worth of puts. They want me to have $400,000 in the account because $40 times 10,000 shares is 400,000. So they're going to hold $400,000 of my money. So basically, that's like my invested capital is 400,000. So what's my return? I'm making 15 cents on $40, but I'm only doing it for 23 days. Divided by 23, my annualized return is 6%. So I'm basically being paid 6% return on my cash to just sit there. That's the other benefit of it. Instead of putting it in a savings account making nothing, I can now get 6, 10. I've made 28, 30% returns annualized by waiting for somebody to pay me money. This is one of the benefits of having a lot of capital, that you can get paid a lot of money to just wait. So even if I have to wait, I'm still getting paid 6, 7. I mean, in a lot of cases, I'm getting paid 10, 15% to just wait. Again, that's an annualized return. I'm not getting paid 10% to wait for 1 month. I'm being paid 0.8% to wait for 1 month, which is an annualized return of 10%. Does that make sense? There's a lot of numbers being thrown out there.
Paul, this has nothing to do with shorting the market.
No, it does not. Shorting the market, if you want to short the market, you would buy puts, betting that the market's going to fall so you can force somebody to buy the shares from you at a higher price.
So people are asking, a video reach is asking, you do short the market all the time, correct?
Not all the time, but I have a short right now that's been going on for a while, yes.
Nice. So in general, Paul, we have a few minutes to go here. We'd love to take a couple last questions. Guys, I know we teased. I came up with the podcast topic today, which was simple steps to become a millionaire, because in general, we will certainly do an entire video on options and puts. We will certainly offer them in the Patreon for the upper levels if people want more exclusive access to Paul. In general, guys, I can't say this enough. I'm coming at Paul like you, a normal person who has all these questions And Paul's been very kind in giving me really, I feel like a personalized education in all of this. So how to become a millionaire. It's the work ethic that Paul's described at the beginning. It's the brainwashing, thinking differently, Paul. Wouldn't you agree? Thinking differently from the rest of the world. Your B to Y goal setting that you've been so adamant about. We can talk about using smart debt to your advantage. That's a whole other topic. Budgeting, ways to invest, what are not investments, ETFs, and why. We've covered a lot, Paul. So in the end, like what's the take home here in the last couple minutes, Paul? Normal person.
The hardest thing to do in investing, but the most important thing is to block out the noise, block out what everybody's saying, and make your own analysis and not care. I don't care if Warren Buffett said I was wrong about something. I would be like, listen, Warren, I did my own analysis and I think I'm right. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just look at it going, I've spent my time learning how to invest and how to buy things and buy properties and buy stocks. And you're going to make the most money when everybody disagrees with you, because if everyone disagrees with you, the price is probably very, very low. And don't think that all these analysts are smart and they know what they're doing. It's all a joke. It's just do your own learning, do your own analysis, believe in it, and go with it. And that's the way to do it. And you're going to be wrong a lot of times, because remember, if you're right 40, 50% of the time, you're going to do very, very well. So your goal is to buy 20 or 30 companies that fit your criteria that you can analyze and understand and feel confident in. You won't be right every time. Don't expect to. Don't worry about it. Your job is to stick to your system plan and do it that way.
Yeah, David Spicer said, ignore the experts. Paul, you definitely do not watch expert shows like
I do for one reason. Whatever they're talking about, I look at it as an opportunity to do the opposite of.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's the whole point of it. The point of it is to sit there and look at the masses and what they're doing. I was just reading a book. I'm reading that book now about day traders. And one guy literally said, I watched CNBC to get ideas of what not to do, of trades to do the opposite of. It's a valid point.
Yeah, Paul, it's been an incredible ride, you and I doing this for 2 years, and all the people watching. It's been great. Again, folks, we treat 2,500 subscribers like 2.5 million. We talk about this on a daily basis. We plan for these shows, and we just love the feedback. Paul, you've even stepped back from your usual position at your holdings group. Talk about that. Where do you see the channel going?
Yeah, this is going to be a prime focus for us for a very long time. I mean, we just enjoy it so much. I love doing this. Seth loves doing it. We're bringing Trader Mo in. It's just a lot of fun. I don't care how long it takes to get to 2 million. We're going to get there, and we're just going to, and if we don't get there, we don't get there. I want to be able to make, even if it's only a group of 10,000 of us that always talk about investing, I'll make plenty of money. I've already taken some of you guys' stock requests and going, oh, it's a pretty good idea. Let me go invest in that. So I'm getting just as much out of it from that as you guys are. My big thing is making sure we have a dedicated group that's always going to be working on making more and doing better and learning more.
Yeah, we can't really, speaking for Paul, we can't believe there's so many folks from all over the world. Paul, remember Harsh from India gave us that tip on Infosys.
Yeah.
So we're listening, guys. When you email us and message us, we're listening, and we're certainly finding interesting and intriguing things to look at, especially using the 8-pillar analysis, which will be part of the app coming out probably just next year, right, Paul? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 9 to 12 months.
And talk about one last thing before we finish up, Paul. What are you envisioning? What are you envisioning for the Patreon? What will people get access to?
The first level will be just purely an access to the app at a much cheaper price in the future, about at least half the price. The next level will be a certain Discord channel that gets me coming in, and talking every so often, not very prevalent. And then the third one will be obviously the most expensive, but it'll be the most access. It'll be a very private Discord channel that I'll probably be in several times a week talking about investing. And where the big thing is I want you guys to all interact with each other and help each other. We're going to be very strict about being respectful, but it's all about you guys learning things together. And value investing community. Somebody asked me the other day, I have somebody teaching me about banks, teaching Mo and I about banks. Guess how much he's charging me?
Go on.
Zero. And there's a person here who said, why would they charge you nothing? I'm like, the value investing community is all about teaching. They're all about everybody sharing ideas, because when we all have ideas, we all share them. We're going to make money by doing that. So if you share your ideas that other people can make money off of, don't forget also, if you have an idea of a stock worth 50 and it's only at 30 right now, the more people you tell, the more likely it's to get to 50. So there's a vested interest in all of us helping each other to get better. That way we all share ideas, we all make money from it. And we can all poke holes in each other's idea. That's the whole point. Hey, Dirty Dane from Sweden. That's awesome. I don't want us to, I want us to be a place where we're all sharing ideas, and I'll use that to make money, and Mo will use that to make money, and Seth will use that to make money, but then you guys can use our ideas to make money. I plan on being very forthcoming about all my positions in terms of what I hold and what I don't hold. I won't necessarily talk about exact dollar values, only because I might do things differently here and there. But it's up to you guys to still do your research and listen to me and poke holes. Ask me questions that'll make me go, hey, I didn't think about that. That's the whole point of all of this.
Yeah, I would say, guys, we are Paul. I'm just more fired up for that, like that LeBron James barbershop style sit down with me and you,
yeah,
at your house, and just have a little. Like I said, we folks, if you join us for lunch, we certainly curse a lot more than we do on the show, and we get more fired up about topics and really sometimes arguments, but fun arguments. And so we're hoping to bring people who are really serious about learning from Paul into Paul's world. I'm telling you, from an outsider, it's changed my life. It's changed every financial decision I make. And I tell I tell everyone I know about Paul and how to get more access to him, because it's just been incredible. We will be in Mexico in January, Paul. I'll be there with you, with Trader Mo. I'll be whooping his ass in tennis, right down the street there at the private tennis courts that we utilize. And so, final thoughts, Paul. I love you.
Thanks, guys, for the support. Keep telling your people, your friends. Keep engaging with us, because I want to hear ideas. Keep asking questions. I do a pretty good job of responding on the app, and please subscribe.
Guys, smash that like button, subscribe. We love you. See you guys. Thanks for joining us.